A very warm good evening to one and all present here today for the Hospex Prelude session on Indian medical device sector. India as emerging international healthcare hub, delivering value through research, innovations, and advanced manufacturing facilities. Today, I'm really honored to invite our esteemed guests and speakers for the day, Dr. Paul or Raffel, Dr. Ashita Menon, Mr. Jatin Mahajan, Dr. Kaladar Kamalasanan, and Ms. Aditi Kumar for sharing their insights in the medical device sector. As you all know that digital health technologies are driving a transformative shift in the medical device industry in India. The growth of digital health in the country is propelled by a multitude of factors, including the government initiatives, the startups, the private sector investments, the innovations, consumers' demand, and global collaborations. I'm not taking much of your time, and I would like to invite Dr. Paulo Raffel, Honorary Secretary, ISA KSB, to share his thoughts about the topic and the value contributions by the anesthesiologist. Over to you, sir.
Thank you all. Thank you, first of all, for introducing me. As medical professionals, all of us know that we always aim for innovation and excellence in patient care. And I'm representing one of the largest body of anesthesiologists, the Indian Society of Anesthesiologists. And you all know that our goal is to improve patient safety and streamline the delivery of anesthesia. Hospice is known to be the largest medical expo in Kerala. I thank Hospice for bringing opportunities like this to explore latest development and products in healthcare sector. Through this, we can revolutionize the patient care, enhance outcomes, and guarantee a safer and more effective surgical experience for everyone by combining the technology and our anesthesiology knowledge. I'm looking forward for this session on today and invite you all to be there for Hospice 2023 in September, Kochi from 15 to 17. Thank you, Dr. Arun Krishna, for inviting me for this session. And you all know he's one of the most enthusiastic anesthesiologists we have. And through him, we have gained and reached to greater heights. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. We do have a small video to share with reference to Hospex, just to share what we are trying to bring and how the Kerala is going to be the one of the largest market for the industry players. So I'm just taking a 1 minute of your time so that I can just play, and maybe after that we can move to Dr. Ashita Menon. Thank you, everyone. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Ashita Menon to share her insights on Hospex and about the session on Indian medical device sector. Over to you, Dr. Ashita.
Thank you so much for giving the opportunity to speak on this Zoom platform hosted by the Hospex. Actually, my video is not clear because I have a very bad name now. So I'll be just speaking the. We all know that we are not living in an ancient era anymore. We live in a modern era or modern world where technology has become a better. I mean, increasing day by day, and each day a new innovation is coming up in the medical field. So technology actually, as I already said before, is superpowers the doctors. So a doctor is updating himself in this technology, he or she stands compared to the other doctors who are in the same field. And where all this technology can be used. See, being a PG student, I can give a detail in that, because in medical field, we use technology in almost everything, whether it is in diagnosis of disease, like we use X-rays, MRI, USG, CT. In the treatment of disease, we use surgical instruments, chemo pumps, Then again, in the monitoring, we use ECG, EEG, pulse oximeter, ventilator. Then again, with the concern with the rehabilitation, we use wheelchair, walker, especially the physiotherapy. That area, we are actually using lots of instruments, and a lot of innovations are coming up as far as the physiotherapy instruments are concerned. Again, in data analysis, I should say that no longer are we using that big, huge files. We are actually using the electronic health record now. Even in every hospital, we have the electronic health record system. And again, it's also used minimally in invasive surgeries like laparoscopic surgery, etc. So always we had this question in our mind, like whenever this technology was advancing so much so in the medical field, we have all had this doubt whether it is going to replace a doctor. Definitely not. It just supplements or just helps the doctor in the proper accurate diagnosis, and also for the better treatment of a patient. Now, what are the concerns actually faced by young doctors in this regard? Let me just speak up. Like there are a lot of technological advancements coming up day by day. And we know that change in medical education or change in medical practice is mainly based upon the research. So being a PG student, we also conduct research, and then we know the methodology, the process by which research is conducted. See, certain researchers, definitely they are genuine, but there are certain researchers which are conducted for the sake of conducting a research. So no proper no proper documentation, and less duration of time, less sample size, and even the data will be forged. So all these things will cause some problem on us. We'll have a wrong research study. So when we get a wrong research study and when we publish that study, so what will happen is that that study will be taken as standard. Now, many such studies will be there. So it will definitely result in a change in medical education. So we need to have definitely such quality, standard, genuine studies that can result in a very good outcome. So if you're conducting a definite standard study, definitely the outcome it will be exact and accurate. So that should be taken into consideration. And I don't know how far India, in India, actually, there are a lot of companies, there are a lot of medicine, even there, for example, not only in the case of drugs, in the instrument sector also, a lot of studies are being conducted. But many are definitely genuine, but many are actually just conducted for the for the sake of conducting a study, and that data are actually cannot be believed also. So if we are conducting such study and such drugs or such instruments are coming into the medical stream, so that will cause definitely it will we will have to compromise in that medical quality that time. If, for example, I'll give an example, like in the COVID era and all, we had used masks. We had used masks, but certain masks that had quality masks, certain masks they're not meeting the standard or quality. So when we use, so there are difference in that. So similarly, the instruments also, when we use less quality instruments or less quality stents or implants, whatever, so it will result in side effects, infection, implant rejection, all these things will be there. But if we are doing a standard study and then we are like manufacturing good standard devices, then definitely the chance of infection, chance of implant rejection, all will be decreased. So in such a way that, so we need to have more such studies, genuine studies conducted, more such innovation instrument that should be standard. So when we say standard, again, in our mind, there can be a doubt. See, all standard things are costly. So either there is a myth in that. So all standard things are costly in the manner, that's wrong, because we need we, especially in India, most of the things are costly, definitely they're right, but we are expecting, we young doctors are expecting the instruments or any drugs which are coming out should be standard, should meet the quality. At the same time, it should be affordable to the patient. That is most important. Affordable and standard things should come into the medical industry. So actually, we are looking forward for a session today, which will actually add value to the doctors and healthcare providers. And we're also looking for the Hospex 2023 Expo and Conference to learn, update, and on all the new aspects. And we wish Hospex all the best. And these were the concerns I had in my mind. And definitely, I just want to ask the experts a doubt also. That is, in India, when instruments are being manufactured or like that, so is there some like quality, proper quality check? Is that being done? In that case, I think someone will answer my question. And again, so thank you so much, Hospex, for giving the opportunity, and best wishes. And looking forward for that 2020 Expo and Conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ashita. Now we are moving to our keynote session. I would like to invite Mr. Jatin Mahajan, sir, to share his inputs on the National Medical Device Policy 2023 and the potential to become the global manufacturing hub in the medical devices. And when these medical devices organizations go global, what are the kind of branding opportunities they need to take in care of and how they need to prepare of? Over to you, Jatin, sir.
Thank you very much, and good evening to everyone who is present on this platform. And before I start my presentation, a big thank you to Hospex for inviting me here to share my views on the Indian medical device industry. I would like to start by saying that what is IT to India, what is pharma to India, is medical device industry to India. It's going to be the next big thing which is going to pan out in next couple of years. So having said that, I will structure my presentation in terms of the size of the market, then the definition of medical devices, a simple definition so that everybody can understand that what are the scope with respect to the medical devices, then what are the challenges we are facing. Then I come to the policy which has been launched, which is the National Medical Device Policy, and then making India the global hub as far as the medical devices is concerned. So as I mentioned, the medical device is the next big thing, which is, and the story has just started. In Hindi, they say, "Abhi picture hai baki." So this is what is going to happen for the medical devices. Now, if I look at the size of this market, it is roughly around 5.2 billion US dollars. And roughly, if I look at this percentage of the overall size of the healthcare market, it is roughly 4 to 5% of the healthcare market, which is around 96 billion US dollars. So if I may say that, this is a great scope to expand our percentile with respect to the Indian healthcare market. Now, having said that, when we look at the manufacturing side, the percentile is very less, which is roughly around 1.5%. Now, the major players as far as the medical devices is concerned is US, Japan, Europe, and China. And if you see the exports from these countries, US is one of the heavyweights. Around 40% of the market is dominated by the US, followed by Europe and followed by Japan, which is somewhere around 25% to 15% as far as the Japanese market is concerned in the world space. Now, let me just also share the definition of medical devices because it's a very generic word. And I'll also explain the categories which come under the medical devices. Now, when I look at medical devices, it's as simple as an equipment, an instrument, a kit or a reagent, which is used to detect, diagnose, mitigate, prevent, to manage the disease, whether it's critical or preventive, or to manage a disability. So this is a broad definition of the medical devices. Having said that, let me also define the categories which the medical devices cover. The first is the electronic equipments. The second one is implants. The third one is IVD kits and reagents. Fourth one is surgical instruments. The fifth one is consumables and disposables. Most of the times we were clubbed under the Drugs Act. And as a result, there used to be a lot of technical confusion between the medical devices and the drugs because drugs is taken inside the human body, whereas medical devices is an engineering product or whatever test is being done, it is done outside the human body. So until 2017, there were very few medical devices which were actually covered, but majority were left outside the purview of the regulation. Fortunately, now with the medical device rules 2017, now most of the devices are coming under the ambit of regulations, and the process still continuing. So if you look at the scope of the sector, it is a big sector, and there is a big consumption story which is there in India. Because why I say this is because 80% of the medical devices are still imported from outside, and We are just to give you some statistics, India is the 4th largest market in Asia after China, Japan, and South Korea. Globally, we rank 21st. If you look at China, if you look at US, Europe, China, and other markets which are known for the medical side. Now, in June 2021, under the collaboration of QCIA and IMED, ICMED certification scheme was launched, which is on voluntary basis. This voluntary certification scheme was launched to ensure the quality, the efficacy of the products which are being sold within the country. So this includes all the medical devices. Having said that, now let me also come on to the challenges of the medical devices. The first and foremost is the lack of availability of the raw materials, whether it is electronic components or whether it is raw materials. The second one is lack of infrastructure, which is, making it a little prohibitive, and sometimes even the invention doesn't come to the commercial stage. Those are the challenges. Then you have, logistics issues. The cost of logistics is quite high. Even the cost of financing is quite high. The technology, sometimes the high-end technology is not available in India because of the demand requirements. Then availability of skilled manpower, because in this sector, you need skilled manpower because it involves, technical attributes. Because once you sell the medical device, you need to give post-sales support. So for that, you need a technical person who can understand the medical device and support the customer whenever required. Also, there's a very high cost of compliance, because a lot of regulations have to be followed, and sometimes there is no ease of doing business in India. So because of the compliances. Another interesting point which I like to share is that India has the lowest per capita expenditure of the health, which is roughly around 1.35%, which is basically the lowest in the world. So this is something that is of a serious concern. Now, having said about the medical device, the size of the market, the definition, the scope, and the challenges, I come to the part of the National Medical Device Policy, which is where it is going to be a game changer in coming times. Whatever challenges I have shared on this platform, the government understands all this, because during pandemic, the first thing which came to the forefront, or the first line of defense against the pandemic, was the medical device sector. We have seen very closely, like my colleague also talked about ventilators, PPE kit, and there were diagnostic kits, RT-PCR kits. So a lot of companies, local manufacturers, rose up to the occasion and introduced many new products which probably have not been launched in so many years. So we have had, I'm also a manufacturer of diagnostic products. So we have had a lot of consultations, a lot of discussions with the government. And because of these consultations and discussions, this policy was launched. Draft was launched in late end of last year, and formally it was announced by the government on 27th April 2023. And this aims to address the key challenges that the industry is facing. Now, I will not take a lot of time, but I will just talk about the salient features of this policy, which is basically, it aims to, give more clarity on the regulation, because, whether you are a startup or whether you are a manufacturer of existing or new products, there are a lot of, terminologies which are used in the standard. So whether it's a product standard or it's a generic standard. So in our terminology, we call it as a product standard or a horizontal standard. So it's not easy to understand. And then for making any claim, or what we say as intended use, a lot of evaluations, validations have to be done. So there needs to be some kind of a ease to be given within the system, so that any company wanting to launch an invention, gets a psychological feeling that it's easy to comply with the regulation. The other part is, there has to be some kind of a incentivization with respect to the local manufacturing. And that is the reason why the government has introduced the PLI scheme, which is production linked plan. And depending upon the production, the government is releasing incentives. So these are few things like, even in terms of tax breaks, the government has also launched medical parks where, they or medical clusters, so that, under one space, companies can, not only manufacture, but do all their testing, validations, verifications, and then launch the product into the market. So that is another thing. Then in terms of product verifications and product quality accreditations. So this is also one of the key things. Like I said, ICMED is available within the country. So likewise, whenever there's a product standard, it should be harmonized with the global standard, so that whenever an Indian manufacturer, goes global, whether it's US, Europe, Canada, Japan, or any part of the world, so there is a kind of ease, because only the compliance is there, and the launch or entry into that market is easier, instead of waiting for 1 year. Sometimes in some countries the waiting period is at least 1 year minimum. So with harmonization of these standards, what happens is it's an easy access to the market, thereby benefiting patient as well as the manufacturer. It's a win-win situation. The other thing is that, the innovation also has to be appreciated, and it has to be incentivized. We currently are not being incentivized for the innovations, and therefore, excuse me, so there has to be some kind of a funding for doing innovative research. Secondly, the infrastructure for research has to be there, and thirdly, there has to be an ecosystem whereby, whatever my innovation is there, that has to be protected. There has to be an IP for me to protect that the innovation product or services. And then, what happens is, once we start manufacturing and we have a huge base, it not only becomes available, it becomes affordable as well. At the same time, becomes accessible. So that is the government's vision also through this policy, that they aim to make the medical devices affordable to the common masses. Now, having said this, one of the main challenge which I like to share here is that overall the government intent is very good, and they are supporting the industry, because I have seen with close working with the government that they now listen, and they are trying to remove the blockages. But the key to this implementation of policy is execution, faster execution of the pillars of what I've said, the 6-7 points which I've said. They are the key to have a breakthrough as far as the medical devices is concerned. Now, this brings me to the last part, which is making India the global hub in the world. In fact, I'm sorry, I have a bad throat. Just give me a moment. So looking at the situation in the world today, the conditions for India becoming very favorable, and companies in US, Europe, China, they're looking at India in a very favorable way, and it can be poised to be a global manufacturing hub. Even the Honorable Prime Minister has, in his vision, shared that he wants India to be among the top 5 manufacturing hubs for the medical devices. And if I look at some statistics, the government has taken a lot of proactive steps in ease of doing business within India also. And if I share some statistics, there was a World Bank study which was done, and we have jumped up 79 positions. And from 142 position, which was in 2014, we have now come to 63rd position in 2019. Also, earlier we had VAT. So a lot of streamlining of taxes, multiple taxes at multiple places, they have been streamlined so that we have a unified tax structure across the country, thereby resulting in lower cost and easy movement of goods within the country as well. So this is another thing. And then one of the main things is the development of the infrastructure. As I had mentioned earlier, the government is focusing on developing of medical parks. There are 4 medical parks within the country, which is in UP, Himachal Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and then in Tamil Nadu. The idea of having the medical parks is that all the companies should congregate in these places so that a common infrastructure in terms of testing validation can be done, thereby resulting in lower cost of manufacturing or testing to the overall manufacturers, and thereby resulting in also affordable price to the end customer as well. So these are some of the things that the country is going to be envisaged. And even what we always hear and say in the market is that we have one of the lowest we have the lowest labor cost within the world, and also we have a very high talent pool. So what we need to do also is that we need to focus on skill building and capacity building with respect to medical devices, because as I had mentioned earlier, that all these products require certain level of technical expertise, and that comes only through skill development. So these are some of the things which will help in overall building up of India as the global hub. And we can also create a pool of talent which will be a feeder, a supplier to the medical device companies who are looking for investments within India, or local companies which are wanting to expand their business operations. So overall, what I would share is that the time is very right, and for India to become a superpower, or for India to lead the medical device sector, because all the environmental conditions, whether the global world, if I may say, everybody is looking at India in a very positive way, positive spirit. The government intent is also very nice. They are trying to remove all the blockages in terms of whatever the hitches are, whether it's regulatory, whether it's logistics, the building of logistics and warehouses also across the country, so that people can find spaces in a very affordable manner. So overall, the government wants that the medical devices should be available to the common man, to the patient, in terms of lowest possible cost, in terms of affordability. So overall, I think the story is still panning out, and I think that it's the best place to be in right now. So with this, I'd like to conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Indeed, it was a great update on the medical device area. Now, we are moving to academic and innovations front of Indian medical device sector. I would like to invite Ms. Aditi from IIT Kanpur, who will be sharing her insights on how incubation and academic values will add the development of Indian medical device sector. So now, Ms. Aditi will be focusing on the innovations and incubation hubs. Over to you, Aditi.
Thank you. Thank you so much. A very good evening to everyone present here. And thank you so much for staying back till this hour of the day. I would keep it crisp and clear, and maybe we can have a couple of interactive Q&A if the time permits. So I am Aditi, and I'm part of the Startup Incubation and Innovation Center based out of IIT Kanpur. I am heading the biotech vertical at the Incubation Center. Can I get the screen sharing right?
Sure, Aditi. One moment.
Sure.
Yes, you can try now.
I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Great. So, yeah, I am part of the incubation center, which is based out of IIT Kanpur, and we have a legacy of being in existence for last 23 years. We started in 2000, and I also happen to be an alumna of IIT Kanpur, so academically trained in biological sciences, bioengineering, and now into innovation management space. So as you would know that incubation nowadays, government is taking quite progressive steps, and every academic institution is now encouraged to set up institution innovation councils, IAC, as well as incubation centers. So what exactly an incubation center does, the primary responsibility of an incubator or a technology business incubator is to help any new idea and convert them into a commercializable product or technology. How we do that, I would cover that in next couple of slides. But at SIIC IIT Kanpur, we primarily judge any incoming startup or new idea on the basis of technical novelty, the technical feasibility, and more importantly, how is the team. If the team is passionate and if they have the right kind of technical ability or the business skills needed to commercialize the project, we incubate them. So we bet a lot on the type of team who's approaching us, and idea can be further improved, the technology can be improved, and we do provide them mentorship, etc. So at SIIC IIT Kanpur, we have support of different funding agencies, in terms of we have several funding schemes available to support these startups or entrepreneurs at different stages of their journey, be it at the ideation. So for the ideation stage and proof of concept, we have fellowship-based programs from DST, DBT, MITI, UP state government. For prototype development, again, we have agencies like DST, DBT, BIRAC, wherein we are in a position to mobilize funds start as low as 5 lakh rupees and as high as up to 50 lakh rupees for prototype development. For product development and commercialization, we provide equity-based schemes to these startups. We also have funds from MSME and several corporates like Citibank Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, Citibank, etc. So apart from the funds, we also help startups by mobilizing different sort of mentors, both technical as well as business mentors. So as you would know that since we're based out of IIT Kanpur, we have technical expertise in almost every field of engineering. In fact, we are now coming up with our own medical college, which would be set up within IIT Kanpur. So we do have several clinical collaborations in place. We also have IP and technology transfer cell, which guides the entrepreneur or the students on how to file patent, how much to disclose, etc. We also help the startup in mobilizing different business connects, either through the government or through the industry support. We get heavily supported by our alumni network, which is almost 70 years old, and they are placed across the world. So when we when we feel that our startup is stuck somewhere, and as an incubation center, we are not able to solve the problem, we reach out to our alumni, and they help almost pro bono to the startup. And these are some of our success stories that we have been able to deliver in past, starting from the ICU ventilator project we did during the first COVID wave, wherein one of our own startup, Noka Robotics, was able to develop an ICU ventilator in a matter of 90 days. a task force was created. As you would know, these are the who's and who's of the industry. We had founders of NASCOM, we had people from Stryker, people who have been in CXO's position at different medtech industries, and of course a passionate team of young engineers who just wanted to develop something which would be helpful for the country. Then we had another startup which developed the Swasa mask, N95 mask, which could be seen worn by even our Prime Minister during the inauguration of Ayodhya temple. During the second wave of COVID, we again took the challenge of developing the much needed oxygen concentrators, oxygen plants, and we again created a team of experts, startups, academicians to develop different type of, not just to develop the technologies, but also to deploy them across India. And the mission was called Mission O2. Another of our startup, Equifront Infrastructure Private Limited. So they are into the sector. They are into the business of developing floating jetties, and last year they developed India's first floating CNG pump station, which was installed in Varanasi. So again, the incubation center is sector agnostic. We have startups spread across all the verticals, be it healthcare, agriculture, hardware, manufacturing, IoT, AI, ML, even cybersecurity. We have a center of excellence dedicated to cybersecurity. And we also have innovations in the defense vertical. And so the incubation center, as I said earlier, is sector agnostic, and anyone with a good idea and a good team can approach us. Fool, again, one of our star companies, which has developed the novel technique of upcycling flower waste and convert them into different type of biodegradable products. They have developed an eco-friendly leather substitute from flower waste, and they are also invested by Alia Bhatt, the actress Alia Bhatt. Since I had the biotech vertical, and for the sake of this audience interest, I wanted to highlight some of the ambitious healthcare projects being undertaken at the incubation center. So last year, we launched this project called Hriday Yantra, wherein we created a team of 9 fellows who are working on developing an artificial heart system, which is also called left ventricular assist device, an LVAD system, which caters to a very small population with severe heart failure, but no option of having an organ transplant. So this is a moonshot project we are doing with Narayana Hospital. Then we have also set up India's second biodesign center in collaboration with KGMU Lucknow. The whole idea is to encourage young generation into biomedical innovations. So they tend to stay at hospitals, scout for relevant clinical problem statements, which can be solved with engineering solution. And our first cohort of 9 SHINE fellows, they are already at this stage where they are developing the proof of concept. In fact, 2 of them have also already developed the prototype. So this is another initiative we have taken at IIT Kanpur. These are the 9 fellows I was talking about. So Shreya is developing a wearable to screen for breast cancer or breast abnormalities, while Kushagra and Prithu are trying to develop a rehabilitative device for assisting people with footfall syndrome. And in fact, that is also applicable in several stroke patients as well. We are also a partner for Birex Spurge program. The idea is quite similar to the biodesign program here. However, the focus is on creating social tech entrepreneurs, and these are the 3 fellows. So here it's a fellowship based program. As I showed in my previous slide, this is more like an ideation stage funding scheme we manage at the incubation center. So they went under immense field immersion. They interacted with several ASHA workers, different nurses, went to PHCs in and around Kanpur region, and then identified some unmet social needs, which will have a technical solution. Another ambitious project that one of our startup Lenec Technologies is doing is developing a handheld AI-enabled X-ray device. So this, for this, they are being supported by Indian Council of Medical Research, and one template that we have been able to establish at the incubation center is we are now clubbing a startup with a team of faculty members to develop high-end, not only to develop high-end devices, but also to ensure that these technologies see the end of the tunnel and eventually, get commercialized by the startup. So this is another exciting project being taken care by one of our startup Lenec Technologies. The incubation center is involved in several international collaborations. So this is another collaboration we did with DWIH. The whole idea is to provide cross-cultural immersion to Indo-German budding entrepreneurs so that they can learn about each other's culture, business ethics, market potential from the 2 countries. And on the similar lines, we are developing relationship with Sweden, Denmark, and a couple of other countries. With this, I would like to end my presentation. So one thing which I did not talk about in the presentation is apart from the funding, etc., IIT Kanpur has quite an intensive state-of-the-art infrastructure to support not only the product development or the prototype development, but also product validation in terms of basic electrical mechanical safety, as well as we have a small animal house. So if you need to do some experiments on mice and rat, that facility is also available and you can do it. We have flexible electronics laboratory. We have ISO 13485 certified medtech lab for prototype development. So yeah, I'd be more than happy to take any questions if anyone has.
Thank you, Aditi. I think we can move to the Q&A. So let me just, I have got a couple of questions from the attendees who have already shared with me. So I'll go by one. So the speakers feel free to answer the questions accordingly. So the first questions would be on the quality standards of medical devices in India. Are there any specific quality standards for medical devices in India?
So to answer, okay. I think Aditi, you can go ahead, please.
No. Mr. Mahajan, please go ahead.
Okay, so basically there are quality standards. So like, for example, if you're looking at, so there are 2 standards. One is product certification standard, product standard, and then we have the ISO standards also, which is the horizontal standard. And then we have the regulations also. In regulation, we have the ISO 13485. So for the medical devices are under 13485. And then we have specific standards. So in BIS now is under the medical device, the National Medical Device Rules. BIS is not tasked with creating of the product standards. So that's what I wanted to share to answer your question.
Just to add to what Mr. Mahajan said, for facility, we have ISO 13485. The product-related standards vary from product to product, the technology to technology, what is the intended use. But some of the common product compliance-related standards that are mostly applicable to all the devices is IEC 60601-1, which is the basic electrical and mechanical safety. EMI EMC testing, ISO 14971, which stands for the risk assessment of any medical device. And now we are also seeing the emergence of artificial intelligence related standards also coming and becoming relevant in India. But yes, when it comes to AI, we still do not have complete clarity. But yeah, these are the things which one need to take care of.
Aditi and Dr. Mahajan, you mentioned these standards, which are basically global standards. I think the question was more to do with the Indian standards. So is there anything that SEDESCO is doing that will be helpful for this industry?
So CDSU, Mr. Rajiv, CDSU comes into play when for class B, C, and D devices in India, and where you need to do clinical validation study, clinical trials. So that's where CDSU comes into play. As Mr. Mahajan also briefly touched that India, the Quality Council of India has launched IC Med 13485 Plus scheme, which would eventually cover all the medical devices. But this is, I think, the current information we have for now, and Mr. Mahajan can add more to it.
No, I think basically, ICMED is basically a certification scheme, which is basically on a voluntary basis to certify any manufacturer, Indian manufacturer, who is selling to Indian consumer, because most of these standards are international. Like, if I have to sell it in US, so I have to comply with the US FDA standard. If I have to sell it in Europe, I have to comply with the CE norms, or maybe a CTS norm, or IV. So like if it is a medical device, it is MD, DER, or if it is IVD, it is IVDDR. So depending upon what is the intended use, we work with respect to the products. So I hope, Mr. Rajiv, we've been able to address your query.
Yes, thank you very much. Because we are in US, we follow FDA guidelines, and we do product design development. We are trying to target Indian market, and that's where I'm trying to understand what the Indian government is doing with regards to the standards for the medical device industry. But you have answered it well, so thank you very much.
Most welcome.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, Aditi. So now moving to the next question. How does India compare to other countries in terms of medical device manufacturing, and what are the learnings so far?
Would you like to take it, Mr. Mahajan?
I was hoping you would take it, because I keep doing a great job. So then
Maybe I can share my observation, because I have been observing this market. I've been in this industry for 20 plus years. In my opinion, Indian market, I mean, there is technology and all that, but there is a very basic requirement that FDA kind of focuses on. In the last decade or so, they have focused on this, which is a usability engineering. That is something that I've seen is not there with the Indian medical device development world. That is my opinion. Again, there could be pockets where this is happening, which I'm not aware of, but that is something that I have seen it is missing. And usability engineering is very critical to medical devices, because it is patient safety, and of course, how the user uses it, and what is the convenience factor or the human factor that they have to use to really make sure the usability engineering is captured. So that is something that is missing in my view. I'm open to listen to other things that people might have observed.
Yeah, Mr. Gupta, I partially agree with you. And to your question, actually, we agree that the Indian medical devices industry has not been really able to be at par with either the European industry or the US industry. But the time is changing now. As Mr. Mahajan also said, that India is being positively looked by the other developed nations when it comes to manufacturing of Indian medical devices. So things are happening. In fact, several design departments and design firms are being set up in the country, primarily to take care of the UI part of the devices. Design is something where, yes, we Indians rate badly, but this is something which is being taken care of. The Indian regulatory system, even the Indian regulatory landscape was quite hazy until 3-4 years back, but we are seeing positive changes happening in the regulatory system as well. Now that the medical devices would have its own separate act, and we would be seeing competent people evaluating the medical devices and all of that. So maybe 5 years down the line, I think we all would be in a position to say that, yes, we have done an excellent job and we are at par with the other developed countries.
Very well said. We are actually also doing the same thing. We have office in India now. We are developing medical devices in India, and we are bringing this critical requirement to medical device development world. So we will be part of this journey, and I'm open to connect with others in this area who are seeking any help or otherwise they just want to have a discussion. I'll be open to that. My email address and also my LinkedIn is in that chat box. So please feel free to connect with me. Thank you.
Mr. Rajiv, I also like to add some other points also. Our regulator is the only regulator in the world which has given classifications of the medical devices. In fact, whatever category. So I belong to IVD. So like we have more than 150 plus products. They have categorized on the basis of risk, which no other regulator in the world has done. Secondly, to answer your question about manufacturing, yes, we have been behind because until 2017, we were not fully regulated. So we were coming under drugs. So drugs is like something which is going inside the human body. So those systemic issues got streamlined only in 2017. Now, having said that, so you need a clearance for marketing from the regulator. And then secondly, what has also happened is what I said in my presentation also is that there are medical parks and cluster parks, and the government is also investing in NIPERs. So it does take time. In fact, I'll also share that the government, one thing which I didn't share is that I'm also part of the Export Promotion Council of India with respect to export of medical devices. So I'm one of the representatives from the industry, and the main objective of the government is to iron out or remove any blockages which is hurting the exports of medical devices from India. So government is understanding and it is planting the seeds, but for the fruits to come out, it will take some time. So it's not that, the government is going to do something today and tomorrow or even tonight, things will come out. It is taking steps because it has to understand the requirements, and also they're engaging the industry. I mean, there are, challenges, but then at a broader level, they are taking positive steps. So with the onset of these 4 medical device parks, and there's also, you should Google AMTZ, Andhra MedTech Zone, which is based out of Vizag, and look at, the kind of innovations high-end innovations which this medtech zone is doing. You'll be amazed. I mean, in 3 years, the kind of technology which they've introduced is breathtaking and mind-blowing. So have a look at AMTZ, and they are also consultants to most of the medical parks within India, what I had mentioned. So I think maybe it is not something that, we Indians don't know how to market it well, which you have to learn from the US, but I think we are picking up the ropes. And I think what Aditi had also mentioned, and just kindly be patient. Next 5 years, you will see a lot of things, it'll take a U-turn of what we are seeing right now. And, it is evidenced by the fact, in COVID, PCR, for example, PCR was a technology which was relegated to high-end research-based labs. Now, with the government mandating that it should be the screening test, suddenly, companies from India who had no experience, they started making PCR. Now, PCR, molecular technology is portable now, which was not there even before the pre-COVID. So things are changing, but yes, definitely, one has to be very, very patient while working in India.
For sure, Jatin. I think we are connected on LinkedIn. I'll write to you separately, but the thing is that I want to be part of this journey in India, actually, within this 5 years, what we can do, how we can help this industry to really bring global power. So I'm with you on this. I'll be helping the Indian industry here. So I'll write to you separately, Mr. Jatin. Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aditi, Mr. Mahajan, and Rajiv Gupta, sir. So now moving to the next question, I think I'm going. Can we take 2 more, please? Because I have 2 more to go, if that is okay with the speakers.
Sure. I think we can
Okay.
Make it quick.
Yes, sure. So the next question is, what is the procedure of high-risk medical device of India in compare of other countries?
So this question is from Arthi. Can you unmute yourself and exactly explain what you need to know?
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Okay, and my question is like high-risk devices, like class D devices, we can say cardiovascular devices. Is generally India has yet not developed some guidelines over it. They were in future, they are going to develop guidelines over class 4 devices. So I want to know, is other countries are having some approval procedure for manufacturing the cardiovascular devices, like or pacemakers, stents, and all that?
So when it comes to cardiovascular devices, Aarti, we have pretty straightened out guidelines from CDSU. In fact, Sri Chitra Tribunal Institute of Science and Technology based out of Kerala, they have a pretty good strength in not just developing CVD devices high-end, but also validating them. So the process is like, I can quickly give you bullet points on how to go about it.
Yeah, sure. I just want to have a general points.
Yes. So if you have already developed a working prototype, which is bench tested, then in order to test it or conduct animal trials, you need to approach an institution or a CRO. You will have to have ethics committee approval in place. Once you have gotten the animal trial data, that's when you approach to CDSU for obtaining test license for conducting the for conducting the clinical trials in association with hospital. And before you have taken the test license, you need to have the product safety standards in place, at least the biocompatibility, the basic electrical mechanical safety tests done in place. So these are some of the basic steps you need to follow. But a test license from CDSCO, even for conducting clinical trials, would be needed until and unless you have a predicate device in place and you're just saying that, XYZ are the different features and these are the performance, and you establish equivalence to the predicate device. That's, yeah.
Thank you. I got it.
Thank you, Aditi. So taking one more question, maybe this will be the last. I think if there are any other questions, maybe you can write it to us, or maybe you can put it in the chat box, and I can email to the speakers and get things arranged accordingly. And moving to the next question, that is about the manufacturing infrastructure. India has been developing specialized, medical device manufacturing clusters. We can talk about Andhra MedTech zones, even Kerala Medical Device Park and all. So once we go for a shared facilities, what all factors need to be taken care of in this kind of environment for a medical device manufacturing? Jitin sir, would you like to answer?
I actually am not very clear on the question because
Yeah.
so if
the
it is
question
more
is like this. India has been developing specialized medical device manufacturing clusters like Andhra, Kerala medical device parks and all. So for such environment, what all things to be taken care of for a medical device manufacturing company? Like, I think they're asking, like, when you go for a medical devices park or shared manufacturing clusters, what they need to be taken care of?
So the question of what needs to be taken care of is not very clear, because when you have shared resources, the cost of infrastructure reduces. So even the cost of testing reduces. There's so many additional costs which come up when you are doing it alone or independently. So that gets reduced. So my take is that when you are using common testing facilities, then the testing cost, many things get reduced, and even time taken to market gets accelerated because everything is available in one place, one location. So that is my understanding. But what we need to be prepared is something which I don't know, because even so, for example, in a medical device you have a regulator. So you have a facility where you can get your test license. For example, if you have a product, you can get, and you just launching it, you can get a test license. Then you can get marketing license there. So whatever the testing protocols are there as per the medical device, as far as the technical file is concerned. So you would have done a risk analysis in terms of the design dossier. So all those things, when they get into the technical file, so what are the testing protocols, what are the compliances, what are the validations need to be. So when you have that facility close to you, then the logistics and coordination improves. So these are the benefits of working in a medical park. So I think Aditi can add some more to whatever I've said.
No, I think you covered it pretty much, because I'm still not very clear of the question they wanted to know.
Okay, I think maybe, so I would request the participants, maybe if they have any specific doubts, they can email to us, or maybe they can put in chat box and I can get the details and email to the attendees accordingly. So I think, can we wind up today's session if there are any? I don't think we don't have any questions now. So let's wind up today's session. So on behalf of Hospex and supporting partners and associations, I would like to thank our eminent speakers, and also the synergies that we get every month now and then with reference to the development of medical technology devices and also diagnostics aspects as well. And we'll be having a similar session in the next month with a different sector focus by Hospex. And thank you so much for joining us today. Have a good night.